This Next Fest really was something. Not only because the number of demos there were to select from, but for the fest itself. It was astounding that there were demos for so many different players, and for me personally, it was great to be a part of the Gaming in the Wild community's participation. They played 156 different demos as a whole, and I myself played 32. I wanted to get to them as soon as I could, so these are my 5 favorites that I played off stream during the time that the fest was active. I'll be covering others in detail when I get back to my demos with drstclair's series. John plans to compile all the data from his community's input, and that may spur me to try out more demos. I already have some on my desktop that I missed out on. I thought more about what I said last time about my top 5 favorite demos. What I plan to do is make shorts for each of the 5, counting down from my 5th favorite all the way to my overall favorite. That way, it gives each of them some notoriety. I plan to write a next script for each one where I detail the things that made it into my favorites. And by shorts, I plan to give each game an individual one. Over the last few years, we've seen so many things turned into roguelites. Gambling, detective architecture, even cooking. With Cupiclaw, we see it with claw machines, which we've seen before with Dungeon Crawler. But it is most like Slay the Spire, where you're grabbing attacks out of a machine instead of playing cards. In Cupiclaw, it is more like Balatro and Luck Be a Landlord, where you have to have enough money to pay for the right to proceed to the next level. Like those based around scores, it really makes for fun combos, but where Cupiclaw differs is the physical aspect of fitting things into your claw. The claw can only carry so much, so it can and will drop objects out of it. It has negative items that you don't want to grab that will count as negative coins. And when you start a round, if you are on a time crunch, as a timer ticks closer to 0, you are mashing the button like you would in an arcade. And when you pass the score requirement, the machine itself changes, making for a great challenge to look forward to. Similar to virtual perspective that I mentioned in my first video, I like when a puzzle game has short levels with a single puzzle to solve before the next one is introduced on the next level. Colorbound does that by making each non-scrolling level a puzzle for you to work out. The game I'm most connected to is Baba Is You. Not through the style of puzzles, but it has puzzles that you must solve on a single screen. But associated with the gameplay, it had me moving the controller away from my hands so I could cross my arms or put my thumb on my chin to think. Baba Is You and Colorbound are the only 2 games that have done that for me. With Colorbound, the game is so simple with what you can do, it's mind-boggling that makes you mind-boggled? The first thing that catches your eye with The Eternal Life of Goldman is the visuals. The hand-drawn, breathtaking sprites make you think of a cartoon that the creators made out of their love for the art. Goldman appears to be a pretty generic platformer with inspirations like bouncing and DuckTales. What makes it different is that Goldman's cane can be altered in different ways to better suit what is needed for that situation. That is expected when I say the game is actually a Metroidvania. What has me most intrigued by it is why is it called The Eternal Life. Just from what I've gathered from the demo, the story is told by a mother and son that keep Goldman alive for the narrative. It somewhat seems like the son may have an illness, and killing Goldman would be depressing to a kid with a terminal illness. And that's just me reading into it. But the eternal life of Goldman is one to watch for, though. I was kind of shocked Last Flag exists, considering it was creatively headed by the lead of Imagine Dragons. Yes, the band. Lucid covered it on their channel, but it ended up being my most played game of the Next Fest, mainly because it's multiplayer. It is a 5v5 hero shooter, capture the flag. Why it stands is a few things. Players individually hide the flag on their side of the map instead of it being just points that you select from. There are 3 capture points at the middle of the map that scan the opponent's side of the map for the flag, based on whoever has it captured. And while the game only has 9 heroes thus far, they all feel different and have so much personality. The character I most played that is on the thumbnail, anytime you would jump, she would click her heels. I definitely look forward to more maps and heroes. Don't be taken aback by who is behind Last Flag. It is a really fun shooter. I expected that Sledding Game would make it into my favorites of the fest. The idea of hanging out, throwing snowballs at one another, making snowmen, and drinking hot cocoa without the downside of being cold is such a great thing. The problem with the demo was not the demo itself, but the fact I couldn't get it played with my friends. Like web fishing from last year, I love the vibe it produces through the act of just hanging out without an objective. Where it struggles versus web fishing is that web fishing did not have voice chat. To talk with others in the lobby, you had to use the in-game text chat. When playing with strangers, it can feel a little off talking to people you know nothing about. You can still have fun with it, and I still did. But when you have people you are familiar with, the game is made for a good time. I still plan on getting it day 1 though, whenever it does fully release.
Oh.
Look out! Oh. Yo.